So this is part two, and it's going to end up being split into two parts itself because it's a little more involved than I thought it was going to be. But when I started thinking about it, I'm talking about two different characters, and I'm talking about the same issue that came with both, but they were approached differently. The thing about critical theory and about what we're talking about with all the word salad that they come out with, Leslie Headland calling George Lucas a misogynist, etc. They talk about deconstructing the hero. Now, they like to say, well, we just want to know let's talk about his weaknesses, blah, blah, blah. That's not what they've done. That is not what they've done. They've literally taken character arcs of existing characters and undermined those arcs and those characters so badly that those characters come out unrecognizable. And in Star Wars, the biggest, most egregious issues I think that everybody had was how Han and Luke were portrayed. Two different characters, two different arcs, two different viewpoints. Luke is a young, idealistic farm boy who becomes a hero, goes off on a quest and becomes a hero. Han is the cynical, world-weary, jaded mercenary who gets hired to take Luke and his mentor, Obi-Wan, to a planet that gets blown up, and Han is dragged into the story, whether he wants to be or not. And like I said, he gets dragged into this story that he didn't want to be part of. He just wanted to earn a fee for taking them to Alderaan and go back and give Jabba his money, so he gets left alone. Instead, he gets dragged in. And why does he get dragged in? See, this is where the Disney sequel trilogy, the Kathleen Kennedy era crap, and George Lucas's vision collide. Because the Han Solo that they had in TFA is not the Han Solo that was there at the end of Return of the Jedi. This is basically what I call drunk deadbeat dad Han Solo, and the reason why they did it this way is to undermine the character, and again, undermine the heroic deeds he did. They basically erased everything that was relevant that he did in the OG. The friend he became, his love affair with Leia. And this has TFA has no resemblance to Star Wars. It's a reboot and it's a bad reboot, right? So let's talk about who this character really is and not what they want him to be. I mean, I've had women say he was a drug dealer and a spice stoner. It's like, the fuck are you even talking about? Again, Pablo Hidalgo, J.J. Abrams, and even Larry Kasdan did this deliberately to fuck with the character because they didn't want the hero. They didn't want to continue that story. They wanted to ruin what George created, and even if they didn't know it. Pablo did because he's an activist. He's not working at Lucasfilm to perpetuate the greatness of George Lucas. He's doing it to attack George. And so what we do is we've got Han showing up, saving the day at the end of Return of the Jedi, getting a medal, or at the end of A New Hope, getting a medal from Leia. And we don't really have a lot of information between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, but apparently a lot of it did happen. And of course, The Empire Strikes Back, the first thing Han does is go out to save Luke from freezing to death in the cold of Hoth, and he puts his own life on the line to do that, and he basically has to cut the tauntaun that he rode out on open so Luke is kept warm by the dead carcass while he tries to build a shelter. And it's probably one of the most important moments because, again, Han isn't doing this for the rebellion. He's doing this because Luke is his friend. He's doing this for Leia, right? And Han isn't there because of the rebellion. He's there for Leia. And when you think about it, when you start looking at him that way, the character becomes more alive, in my opinion. The rebellion becomes important to him because it's important to Leia. But we'll talk about that further. And then, of course, at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, during the Battle of Hoth, Han goes to make sure Leia gets on her transport, and they try to get to the transport, and what do you know? An Imperial barrage blocks the passage to Leia's transport, so he gets her out on the Falcon. And again, this is a major moment, right? He didn't have to go back and get her. He didn't have to be worried about her, but he goes back and gets her out, right? And it's an interesting thing because now they're stuck together. They're alone. And if you don't understand why he did that, then you're going to find out soon. It would be very difficult, I think, for people to hide this kind of thing going on, but apparently Leia was completely obtuse to it, but I don't think she was. And the reason why he saved her is because he cared about her. He loved her, right? The reason why he went out and saved Luke and the rest of the humiliation of that is because Luke was important to Leia, and Luke is his friend, so why wouldn't he? They get to Bespin, and this is Han doing his best. It's the only place he could figure out that they could go. Lando is there, and they have a storied, checkered past, but Lando says, sure, why not land, and we'll fix the Falcon. And then, Leia doesn't trust him, with good reason, and we find out why she doesn't trust him. Because Boba Fett had remembered Obi-Wan hiding on an asteroid in Attack of the Clones, and he realized Solo probably landed on the Executor with the Falcon. So Boba Fett followed, called up Vader, said, yeah, they're on their way to Cloud City. He put two and two together because Boba has a storied history with Han Solo too, and the Empire was waiting for them. So Han gets brutally tortured, and if we never are told if Vader gave them a choice, but the fact that Vader decided to do that to him and not Leia is interesting, and it's like kind of like sacrificial. He made Leia watch, which is just fucking sadistic shit. And at the end, he wants to test out the carbon freezing chamber, which isn't fit for humans, and Han could die. So this is another place where Han is Han Solo. This is not the TFA Solo that we know. Leia says, I love you. He says, I know. Harrison Ford is quoted saying, what would a badass say in that circumstance? And he was right. And what we have to remember is this. This is a place, and it's part of Western mythology, and it's also American mythology, because this is the American gunfighter right here. This is the cowboy. This is Wyatt Earp, right? And this is why, I think that's why George Lucas wrote this character to be this way. And to see the undoing of this character so deliberately and mean-spiritedly by J.J. Abrams, by the story group. I mean, the stuff that the story group has come up about him is just a bunch of angry feminazi headcanon, but it's cultural Marxism. Underline the masculine alpha male everywhere you can. Undermine the white man everywhere you can, right? I mean, This is the country that came out of World War II, number one. Everyone was looking at America being, okay, they're the biggest badasses on the planet. And what are cultural Marxists going to do, like Marcuse and the other ones? They're going to do what they can and put it in people's brains to deconstruct them so there aren't heroes anymore. Okay, so let's talk further.
For 10 long weeks, the Star Wars company labored on the suburban London sound stages, bringing to life a film that had begun as an idea with George Lucas 3 years before.
So let's get to Return of the Jedi real quick. When we see the movie open, Luke, Leia, and Lando are on Tatooine, and they're going into Jabba's palace to rescue Han. And it's a very complicated little plan they've got. They've got Lando already there. The droids show up and present themselves as a gift to Jabba to show Luke's goodwill. And then this bounty hunter shows up, and it's Leia. It's at night. She gets him out of the carbonite. He's blind. He can't see. If you know anything about Greco-Roman mythology, this is the heroine going into hell to rescue her lover, right? And he's helpless. So she's trying to reassure him, and it's a very poignant thing because you've got this guy that you think is larger than life, and he's in a very bad position, and he's got Leia there, but they got to get out of there, and they get trapped again, and they get captured. Han gets tossed in the same cell with Chewbacca. Now, when you look at this, it's almost like a rebirth, like coming back from the dead motif, and this is something that Greco-Roman mythology, and I even think Norse mythology sort of deals with, and he's a changed person. Not that he wasn't before, but this is where you see who he should have been from the get-go, right? So they get back to the rebellion, and he offers to lead the assault on the reactor shield that is protecting the second Death Star. Now, I have a problem with the way they did this. Now, it's not a bad movie, but they reduced his role in it, and Lando should have gone back to Cloud City to lead a rebellion against the garrison there, and Han should have been leading the fighters into the Death Star. I think that would have made more sense as far as the story goes, but I didn't write it. But he offers to lead the assault on the reactor shield, and basically, because he's a master of all trades, it's fine too when you think about it. Why does he offer to do that? Why does he offer to do that, and they give him the rank of general? Well, she's sitting right next to him. That's why, right? A good woman can make a man want to be a better man, right? And in my opinion, when you see this, you realize that this is who he was supposed to be the whole time. And he was always self-protective because of the life he led and how many times he got screwed over by people and making deals and all the rest of that stuff. And it was better not to trust anybody and just live on the fly than get yourself involved with something that is probably not a good idea. And they're successful, Han and Leia with him, because she goes with him. And the rebels with their Ewok allies blow up the deflector shield, or the shield, the shield generator that protects the Death Star, and the rebel alliance is able to get in there, led by Lando, and blow up the Death Star. The Emperor's already dead by this time. Darth Vader had picked him up and thrown him into the reactor core. So what is the thing going on here. Well, what's going on? This is the arc. We've got this guy's kind of an outlaw. He gets caught up in this story, sacrifices himself, gets a second chance, and at the end of it, the story, he's who he's supposed to be. That's his character. He's was always a good guy. He just, in my opinion, what they did with the TFA, again, like I said, is deconstructed the hero. What they like to do is to show the flaws. And everybody knows heroes are flawed. They do this with historical figures too. How do you tear down Thomas Jefferson? You show that he had a supposedly circumstantial evidence only, which is not admissible in court, that he might have had a black son that he sold as a slave. And what they did is they erased everything that he did, Han Solo, in the OG. Now, it is why I know what Harrison Ford said. He wanted him to die in Return of the Jedi. Harrison, that's stupid, and because it is a stupid idea. And Larry Kasdan wanted it too. Well, Larry Kasdan wrote, or at least consulted on the story of The Force Awakens and got what he wanted. It's not that, right? It's the fact that Han Solo that we knew right here, the guy right there, isn't the same person. Now you can say, well, characters change. Yes, they do. We just saw him change in the original trilogy, right? So again, cultural Marxism, critical theory, deconstructing the hero. We all heard it in college. I know I did back in the early 90s, is what they aimed to do to take away the heroism of the character. And that is exactly what they did. Okay, the reason why I'm using critical theory to describe what Kathleen Kennedy and her minions have done to all of the franchises that George Lucas created is they wanted to kill off the white male hero. And if he's still alive, then to make him look stupid, then to take away everything that made him that individual. And that's exactly what they did with Han Solo. And tomorrow we're going to do Luke Skywalker. This just got way too long. So tomorrow is part two, chapter 2, and we'll deal with Luke Skywalker. This is Steph signing out. See you around the galaxy.